It's Sunday morning, and every decent man and woman is listening to Test Miles with Nick Miles on FM News 101 KXL. Buckle in.
It's Sunday morning, time to talk cars for the next 60 minutes on your weekly automotive experience. I'm Nick Miles, and you're listening to America's Automotive Radio Show. Test Miles, locally created, nationally celebrated. This team of misfits, rapscallions, ne'er-do-wells includes Sean Walker, our producer, Oli the Viking, old Volvo seller, old man Brad, man, and Jenny the intern. A lot of mans in here in the studio this morning. Test Miles, every week we like to test some cars. If you're going to go and buy a car at a dealership, we usually get them before they get into dealerships. And Test Miles have a fleet of vehicles, including our long-term Durango, which we do love. So what have we been driving this week? Well, one of the vehicles I have been driving is the new Mini Hardtop four-door. Very impressed with this vehicle. Compact hatch. It depends what you really call this car. Some people call it a subcompact small car. Some people call it a compact hatch. Quick on the acceleration, sharp handling, premium vehicle. It's very comfortable on the inside. They've done a lot to make this car luxurious, firm ride, and they say it's like a go-kart. They're absolutely right in that. It is like a go-kart. You can get out from behind a car, around it, and back in record time, safely. And 1.5-litre engine, 3 cylinders, 2-litre turbo, also 4-cylinder. This vehicle has about 134 horsepower in the 3 and 189 horsepower. When I say about, it has exactly 134 horsepower in the 3-cylinder and 189 in the 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo. It does come with a 6-speed manual, which the hardcore drivers like. It also comes in a 6-speed automatic. Front-wheel drive. Of course, the Countryman from Mini does come in all-wheel drive as well as the Paceman. I think the sipping is what's really good about this car. Fuel economy, 33 miles a gallon combined for that, the 3-cylinder, and for the 4-cylinder, 29 miles a gallon. You had a question, Brad?
I do. How is Mini doing as a brand?
They had a rough last year, but they're part of the BMW group now, and they're doing much better. Although I do notice in their quality fit and finish, they do get knocked a little bit in the J.D. Power Associates Awards.
It just seems there's so much more competition for that now. When it first came out, and yes, I was there when it first came out for the launch of the new...
1964?
Yeah, pretty much. Of the new one, the U.S. version, sort of. It seemed unique, and now it just seems like one of many in that category.
Look at all the cars that actually went out onto the marketplace to fight with Mini and to compete with them. Nissan are very open about the Duke. It was a vehicle they brought out to just compete with Mini. What else about this car? Well, it's a competition, which is very wide. Ford Focus, VW Golf, Kia Forte, Elantra, Mazda 3, Lancer, Subaru Impreza. You could also go smaller to some of the subcompact cars. There is the Cooper S, and the John Cooper Works. Starting price, $21,700, I assure you. You'd be lucky to get out of the dealership with anything close to that, because by the time I finish kitting one out, sometimes they're just ridiculous. At least double that. You could do double that if you wanted to go crazy to get one. The other vehicle I've been test driving this week is the Cadillac Escalade. Sean recently was in this 5-door, full-size luxury sedan. Very elegant, seating for 8, a strong V8 powered engine. Unfortunate things about this vehicle, the downsize, does handle like a truck. Very frustrating to use because it is so truck-like. Getting in and out of gear always thumps a little bit. The third row, a little bit small. A big V8 6.2-litre engine with 420 horsepower. It does come in a 6-speed or 8-speed automatic. I would suggest the 8-speed. Rear wheel or all-wheel drive. 17 miles a gallon if you're lucky, combined. It does compete with the Infiniti QX80, Lincoln Navigator, Mercedes GL, Lexus LX, Land Rover's Range Rover, and the Mercedes G-Class. Very luxurious, beautiful vehicle. I know a lot of limo companies use them. I know a lot of high-end transportation companies use them. They are probably the premium full-size SUV against Range Rover. But there's lots of room in the back as well. Standard, luxury, premium, and platinum versions of it. Lots of tech on the inside. Here's the thing about the tech. This car is significant as far as the tech is concerned because there's a couple of things in it. One is the new systems that General Motors have been using in their large vehicles are some of the security systems. If you jack the car up, in any way it tilts off of the level, alarms go off. So if you try to tow it, you flatbed it, you are trying to steal the wheels, the alarm goes off. If you have the windows open, if you have the sunroof open and somebody reaches in the car, the alarms will go off. So I kind of like that. You can leave the sunroof ajar and someone tries to go in there and steal something that's in plain view, which you should never do, leave something in plain view in the car. The actual alarms will go off. So they've done an awful lot to make sure the sensors sense somebody in or around the car, and it's loud. It sends a really, really loud sound into the vehicle if you try and steal stuff from it.
So it's an alarm that people will pay attention to.
Yeah,
versus, whatever.
I don't think it's ear bleeding alarm, but it's pretty loud.
We had one Escalade, it wasn't too long ago, that we got a call saying it was being driven down the freeway, but it was on a car carrier.
Oh.
Heading down to California. They said it had been stolen. So the technology is interesting on that.
Right, well, at least you knew, and then you could say that's not right. $73,965 is the starting price. Comfortably equipped, mid-80s, I would say, too. Sean, what have you been driving?
I've been driving the Honda CR-V. This is Motor Trend's 2015 SUV of the year. Every Honda now sold is coming standard with backup cameras, which I think is cool for Honda. And it's a nice little feature to add, even with base models. This also has their famous ACE body structure, which allows pretty much you to be safer in a car crash, takes the energy from the crash and spreads it out through the whole body, so you don't absorb more of the impact. The only bad thing I really had about this car was it took me a while to actually get comfortable in the seats. I don't know. After I got comfortable in it, it was a fantastic ride, but it did take me probably like 20 minutes of adjusting the seat.
But if it was your daily driver, that wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, it was just the first time getting into it. That's the only thing is I couldn't get comfortable in the car. Trim levels are the LX, EX, EXL, and Touring. There's a lot of tech in there. They have their collision mitigation braking system, which basically allows you not to rear end someone on the freeway. They have their lane keeping assist system, which you can just drive down the freeway and it puts you back in the center of the lane. Looks at lines on the side of the road, and basically if you start swerving, it puts you dead center. On the launch of this, I was down in California driving on I-5, and basically we drove probably 30 miles without even touching the steering wheel. I mean, that's how well the system works.
Good.
Also, Honda's lane watch. So basically you turn on your right turn signal. It shows the whole side camera view of your right car. Easy for blind watch and make sure you're not going to clip someone. Starting price is $23,444. You can get up there into the 35s if you fully load them up, but it's a fantastic vehicle. You drive down the road, there's no noise coming out of it. The sound dampening in it's awesome. Loved the only down for it I say is like, and I don't know if it's my phone or just the car, but every time I'm in a Honda, for some reason, when I answer the Bluetooth, it disconnects me.
Right, and you have to hit the button that pushes it into the dash system. It's just the way that they have it set up, and they know that. They know it's.
I just think that's the baddest or one of the worst Bluetooths out there. Just for that, everything else works. It's just when people call you and you have to go that extra step.
All right, I would also say it is the America's best-selling SUV as well. It's the number one seller in the US.
There's a reason for it. It's a great vehicle. I have nothing bad other than those. I mean, I would own this vehicle.
Brad, what have you been driving?
I too had a Honda. The Honda Accord Hybrid. There was a funny parody piece that I saw this week. They did a recall on the 93 Honda Accord. You know why? Because those owners should have purchased a new car by now.
I believe that I saw the same parody, but it was for a Camry.
Oh, somebody posted it on Accord.
Yeah, maybe it's the same thing.
But it does speak to the Accord that the ownership process is fantastic because they do last forever. It's not the most scintillating kind of styling car comparison to everything else, but I do have to say this, the Accord Hybrid was my favorite Honda that I think I've driven. Now, I haven't been into the new Pilot that you guys have, but this hybrid gets 600 miles per the tank. So that's 45 highway, 50 city, and it's finally a viable option for a hybrid that's fun to drive. So many times the hybrids have been more like the Prius, where it's got to be boring, stodgy, terrible to drive. Honda has finally given a viable option on this. The downside, really only on this Accord, is that a little lack of rear storage space, and there's no rear folding seats. That would be nice, but for the extra battery. And it does shut down at idle, which is kind of a unique driving experience as you sit there and you hear it kind of shut off, you think. But that has generated a 25% fuel savings. So that's how they got
That's a
some
lot.
of those big numbers. Price on this was based around $30,000, fully loaded. The TRG that I drove, $35,845. So the question is, as you normally get, does the extra savings justify the cost?
Never does. It never does. But the thing you have to look at is how many trees did you save?
How many trees did you save? But that's also the downside for this because it looks like the Honda Accord.
Right.
So if you're trying to say I drive a hybrid and everybody look at me, I'm doing the right thing, you need something ugly, apparently.
It's very difficult to justify them, but you have to feel good about driving what
But the
you drive.
Accord is like one of the only hybrids that actually does better than, and extremely better than all the other hybrids out there, or its counterpart, because doesn't it get almost 20 miles better than the standard Accord?
Yeah, but also the Fusions get like 47 miles a gallon, and the regular Fusion gets like 30.
But if you look at the 4-cylinder automatic, it gets 24 and 34.
right,
So it does get substantially better
it's
than
it's about the same for cars like the Fusion. There are some brands that don't do much better, but it's usually when you get the bigger cars that they do worse. The little ones do a lot better.
Yeah, so I'd give this a 10 out of 10. I had a lot of fun driving this and saved some money. So
Excellent. Coming up on the show, we're going to talk a little bit about what happens if your car breaks down, how does your car tell you it's sick, and how can you get it fixed just by picking up your smartphone. We're going to talk to the founder and the CEO of a new company called OpenBay that has an app that can just help you fix your car. That's coming up on Test Miles. I'm Nick Miles.
It's Test Miles on FM News 101. Test Miles, like NASCAR, but with one right turn. TestMiles.com.
Welcome back to Test Miles on FM News 101 KXL, automotive radio show live from our studios in downtown Portland. For the latest automotive news, follow us at Test Miles on Twitter.
So here's a fun fact with which you can impress your friends. The first car to wear the Mazda badge was the 1960 R360 Coupe.
You might have a great appreciation for cars, but not know much about the mechanicals. I love cars, the design, the power, the performance, and the ability to make your heart sing. I know the basics about how they work, but you don't have to be a mechanic to appreciate all of our four-wheeled friends. So when your car breaks down and needs some attention, how will you know what's wrong with it? How will you find the best place to get it repaired? And, how will you find out what its needs are and at a price that you can afford? Enter a new company called OpenBay. Joining us on the phone is CEO and founder of OpenBay, Rob Infantino. Rob, welcome to the show. OpenBay, can your car actually talk to you right now through your cell phone? How does it work?
Well, with our new feature that we just, by the way, thank you for having me on your show. With the new feature that we just announced called OpenBay Connect, it essentially gives your car a voice, so it does exactly what you just said. Anytime a vehicle has any type of issue, whether it's triggering a code or it requires maintenance service, it sends essentially an alert to OpenBay, and we go out and get quotes for you local to where you live.
So walk me through it. So your car has a problem, and how does it let you know that it has a problem?
Well, let's just give the listeners a basic understanding of OpenBay. OpenBay is essentially a national online marketplace for car repair. So if you know exactly what you need for your car, or you can articulate a problem, it'll go out and find you service providers near you that will send in real-time or binding quotes that will essentially solve your problem. What we found was that, we've been running the platform for about a year and a half now, and about 75% of the people who come to our platform know exactly what they need. I need tires, I need brakes, I need an oil change, I need a timing belt. The other 25% can articulate a problem. I hear a grinding noise when I step on the brakes, or my steering wheel wobbles, or there's smoke coming out of the engine, or
that would be
whatever the issue is, which is pretty bad. You're exactly right. So what we found was that we felt that there was another portion of the market that we weren't addressing. So we took, the availability of other technologies like the connected car that a lot of people have been talking about. And this is, connected cars are coming out from new car manufacturers. There's about 200 million cars on the road today that are connectable. And this is with the use of what we call an onboard diagnostic port. It's a little device that plugs into that port and makes your car connected to the internet. And we leverage that pipe to leverage any type of notification that comes out of your vehicle, and we take action on it.
So now, if your car needs some work, you can recommend a shop in the local area that can do it for the best price. How do we know if these shops are any good?
Well, we go through, our entire list is curated. So we go through a screening process to make sure that they have certified mechanics on board, they're licensed. We also check them out on the web just to validate all their information. And then we look at various ratings on the web from Google Places, Yelp, and other rating services. And that allows them on the platform. When we first started, we essentially let everyone on the platform, but then lately in the last year, we've essentially have a screening process in place. And that's, that goes with the territory of starting a new business. As you get bigger, you have to introduce more policies. So we've been making sure that all of the providers come on board are screened.
Now, what's the sort of situation if I'm looking for a place locally that maybe has a loaner car, or can you select a shop that has the needs that you have personally?
Yeah, there's a process that you go by when you create your service request. There are certain amenities that you may require. Like, for instance, if you plan on waiting on site, you would want Wi-Fi, so you can check that box off. Or if you need a courtesy van to take you back to work, or if you need a loaner car for the day, those are the things you would check off when you submit your request. And then the providers that respond with quotes generally tell you whether those amenities are available or not.
Now, what's the sort of the cost for me to use this service?
For consumers, it's completely free. The way we monetize, essentially make money on the platform, is we take a 10% fee out of the total invoice, and that comes out of the provider's pocket.
Now, let's talk about things like certified and all these guys that you put on your system, they're all certified?
Excuse me. We do recommend that they're all ASE certified. We have three categories of providers. We have dealerships, we have independent shops, and we have mobile mechanics. So consumers can pick and choose with whom they want to go to. Some people like going to dealerships. Some people prefer the cost benefit of an independent shop, and
awesome.
And some people love the convenience of having a mobile mechanic come to their home. So it's really, we give the consumer choice, and that's, I think, one of the advantages of our platform.
I am desperate to try this out, Rob. Thank you so much. If you're interested in OpenBay, go to openbayconnect.com online. You download the app and try it out. It's kind of a bunch of fun. I've done a TV story on this as well. OpenBay probably changing the way we do things with our cars. openbayconnect.com, and an exciting new way to take care of your car. Rob, thanks so much. Coming up next, we'll talk a little bit about the new Chevy Camaro on Test Miles.
Throw it in neutral and coast in with testmiles.com.
Live from our studios in downtown Portland on a Sunday morning, this is America's Car Radio Show. We'd like to thank you for being part of the Car Nation. For more fun facts about cars, find us on Facebook at Test Miles.
Nick, here's a fun fact. The Z28 Camaro designation was chosen because it was the next available option after Z27.
All right, math, I like it. It's been a long and very rich history for the Chevy Camaro. It started out its life as competition to the Ford Mustang, but in the last 5 years, it's outsold the Mustang each year by several thousand cars. It's classified as a pony car and some versions as a muscle car. It went on sale September 29th, 1966 as a 1967 model. Sean and I spent the last weekend in Detroit at the unveiling of the 6th generation of the Chevy Camaro. And joining us on the phone is Shad Balch from Chevy to talk to us about all things Camaro. Shad, welcome back to the show. So why is the Camaro such an icon?
Well, thanks for having me, guys. The Camaro, it pretty much speaks for itself in terms of what it stands for. Like you said, it started back in 1967 when it first rolled off the assembly line, and ever since there's been this relationship with the manufacturer and its customers to outperform the competition and to sort of be the best of the best. So it's not just a car. The Camaro has always been a lifestyle. It's been a competition. You've joined a club, and the relationship the manufacturer has had with the customer is really what has set it apart. And the 6th generation Camaro, I think when you've had a chance to take a look at it and even drive it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, so you saw firsthand how we just set the benchmark so much higher now with the current generation.
I will tell you, so let me set the scene for you. We're on Belle Isle, just outside of Detroit. It's in the city of Detroit, but it's just outside Canada, right there on the river. And it was, whole island was made into a racetrack for us to test these vehicles. 1,000 Camaro fans, 500 cars from all over the North America, guys driving from Canada, bringing their vehicles over. And one of the things I found that was most amazing at this event, at the unveiling of the C6, the 6th generation Camaro, was the fact that there's not only fans who have been lifelong fans of these vehicles. I saw and talked to the guy who owned the very first one that rolled off the factory line. But there's fans, some of the guys out there are hardcore fans that they work in the factory. They build these cars, they live it, they breathe it, they eat it, they have the best job they could possibly imagine. So the fans come from wherever, all over the country, and people who are embedded in actual making the car. So what's the secret sauce to this, Shad? Why is Camaro just such a brand that gets such an amazing following?
So it's a very fine line between when you do a car like Camaro, and you do a new one like we just unveiled, you have to give just enough for the loyal fans to keep them excited and to keep them hungry for it, but also combine enough new technology and enough innovation so that we can attract the new generation of buyers. So Chevrolet did like sort of 3 pillars in development of this car that they focused on: performance, technology, and information. And so those 3 pillars are sort of what became the basis for how they were going to design the car, giving enough to the loyal enthusiasts who've driven the car for years, but also adding in new technology so that we could attract new buyers. And I think you'll see some of that stuff like on the interior cues where you can set the color of the car that you want. For the first time ever, we offer a 4-cylinder engine for the next generation Camaro. So you'll still get the performance, but also you'll get the fuel economy that you normally wouldn't expect with a muscle car.
Now tell me what's actually new on the car. So let's go through the things that we can expect with C6. What's new about it?
Well, I mean, what's the better question is what isn't new, and I can tell you that it's just 2 parts that don't carry over from the current generation over the next generation. It's the bow tie logo in the back and the SS badge on the front. So everything on the 6th generation Camaro is new. It's on a brand new architecture that is stronger yet lighter, 3 new engine plants, 2 new transmissions, so you have 8 different options for a powertrain. All of the technology inside, from magnetic ride to the information display screens, all of that is pretty customizable by the driver. So there isn't anything that is carried over from the old generation, pretty much. Everything is brand new.
Let's talk a little bit about that ride and handling, because what they had us do at the event was drive the C5. We did a lead follow around the racetrack, and then immediately jump into the mules, which is sort of the basic mechanical C6s with the body on top, but the interior wasn't the new C6 version. We drove that around the track, and to me, the difference is I had to work hard. I'm not a track driver. I never professed to be a track driver, but I do okay on the track. I get sort of medium times. It was work driving the C5 around. We had to push it. The C6, I could almost put it in autopilot. The thing was just so much easier. So was that the idea, to make the car much more intuitive and much more simple to drive?
Well, yeah. I mean, the idea at the end of the day is to make the car go faster around the track. And the best way to do that is to make it more comfortable for the driver. So the fact that you're able to more easily maneuver it around a track like Belle Isle, which is notoriously pretty technical, that is what will get better performance times out of it, and that's what's going to, help us keep beating our competition. It's going to still be America's sports car for that very reason. But that goes to the point of all the new technology. So magnetic ride control, which is just, magic in terms of suspension. That thing adjusts 1,000 times per second. Is pretty much the best in the best in terms of suspension and handling. So the option to have that combined with the appropriate power plants, the lighter frame, the lighter car overall, and the more rigid frame, all of that is going to allow you to maneuver the car much quickly, much more deliberately around a track.
Now,
without beating you up.
Right. Now, when we were there, and apart from seeing the new C6, apart from the whole history of the car and all the old cars they brought out, including the very first generation, they had the 3 Bumblebee cars out there from the Transformers movies 1, 2, 3, and 4. That really changed the way people thought about Camaro from the first one. You know, those vehicles, apart from looking absolutely fantastic, how do people think about the car differently now that it was in the Transformer movie? Because it sort of opened it up to a whole new younger audience. It's not just the guys who got into the cars in the 60s, is it?
No, not at all. And that's the best part is because the car has done so well, not just in sales, but I mean, the way that it performs on a track, the technology that we put into it every year over the last 5 years, the current generation, it's standing its own, and it's attracting a new generation of buyers who get pleasantly surprised when they get inside, and they're instant Camaro fans and instant Camaro loyalists, usually for life.
I can tell you, from an anecdotal point of view, out at the bus stop, there's a neighbor who has a Bumblebee Camaro, and all the junior high kids know Camaro. They're all pointed out. Every day it drives by at the same time, roars down the street, probably too fast.
That was a pretty savvy marketing play that Chevrolet did, was to integrate Bumblebee into Transformers, and we certainly at that point grabbed the attention of a lot of early drivers and car enthusiasts.
Let's step back a minute, Shad, and look at the Chevy lineup, the Chevrolet lineup of all their vehicles. How important is the Camaro to the brand?
Oh, it's one of the most important, if not the most important. I mean, it's right up there with Corvette in terms of what it represents. I mean, that's probably, if you tell anybody, ask anybody, what do you think Chevrolet, they'll probably say Camaro. It's that iconic. It's done that well. It is the car that people want to look at. In when you think of muscle cars or sports cars, that's what comes to mind.
I think, by the way, you have the best job in the world to be able to spend your day promoting and talking about this car. How does it fit into the lineup now? So it's below the Stingray, but it's really just the 2 sports cars at the top of the lineup, right? Or I guess the SS, does that fit below the Camaro? How do they all work together?
Well, so right now we'll have two options: the base Camaro and then the SS. The base Camaro will have the 4-cylinder or V6 options, and then the SS, of course, has the V8. It's an affordable sports car. It has all of the performance attributes that anybody who wants a performance car can get without having to pay for something like a Corvette. And it's also a little bit more user-friendly. I mean, you have 4 seats instead of 2 in the Corvette. So it's definitely a pony car. It's a sports car, but it's one that you can easily attain.
Last question for you, Shad. When are we going to see these in dealerships?
They should be out probably the end of this year. We expect them to start arriving in Chevy showrooms. Can you
get us one here in the Northwest so we can take it to Cars and Coffee and wow everybody?
Of course. You know it.
You're the best. Shad, thank you so much, and thank you for coming on the show, and really excited about the new Camaro. When we come back, Mark's going to be here from Cars and Coffee. We're going to find out how the relaunch went and how this weekend went and how did the coffee taste. That's all coming up on Test Miles. I'm Nick Miles.
Test Miles on FM News 101.
Live from our studios in downtown Portland on a Sunday morning, this is America's Car Radio Show. We'd like to thank you for being part of the Car Nation. For more fun facts, you can follow us on Facebook at Test Miles.
Here's a fun fact to impress your friends with. Many cars produced by Ferrari have odd names for their colors, but what you might not know is that the colors were named after famous racehorses.
Excellent. I don't even know what the colors are, Mark. Do you know what the colors are for Ferraris?
Generally red and everything else.
What are they called, though? Do we know their names?
Rosso Corsa, most popular red.
Rosso Corsa. All right, well, Portland's biggest and most famous car gathering has just been relaunched. Cars and Coffee just found a new home at the World of Speed in Wilsonville. Mark Scholes is here as one of the organizers of Portland's Cars and Coffee. So welcome to Test Miles. How was the relaunch?
Fantastic. It was off the charts good.
So we were talking about getting, you had about 200 to 300 people showing up to the original location. Are we getting the same people turning out to World and Speed?
Our original location was capped at about 250 parking spaces. We have roughly 300 spaces at our new location there at the World of Speed Museum. We counted over 425 cars last Saturday.
So, wow. So people are parking in the street. Just imagine if you charge $50 a car.
It's a free event. It always will be.
All right. Explain to me the event, where it is, what it is, and how it works.
What it is now for 8 years running, every Saturday, rain or shine or sun or snow for that matter, every Saturday we gather as a community of car enthusiasts, sit in the parking lot and enjoy the cars, the conversation, the caffeine, and the community of car enthusiasts.
So 8 a.m. till...
Correct. 8 a.m. until about 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning.
All right.
8 to 11.
Tell me a little bit about some of the cool cars that have showed up at the new location.
We have had some amazing cars. On our initial launch weekend, it was the theme of the weekend must have been eye candy. We had 3 Lamborghinis, including a brand new Lamborghini Huracan. We had 12 Ferraris that we counted, the brand new Aston Martin Vanquish, 2 new Rolls Royces, and yet spanning the entire spectrum all the way back to a 1932 Packard, a 1938 Cadillac, and a 1956 Corvette on modern running gear. Wow. Amazing.
Wow. Rare cars, those are the rare cars and the older ones, or would you call rare cars some of those things like the Aston Martin?
Exotic, unique, rare. It is all inclusive. Now, it's not just about the exotic cars.
Last time around, you had a Starbucks at the location that served the coffee. This time, the coffee's coming from World of Speed. How is it?
It's good. It's stimulating. It's good coffee.
All right. Any coffee is good. Do they do fancy coffees? Because I like my coffee fancy with frothy things and flavors.
Right now, for the first couple of weekends, it's been so popular that they've actually called in an outside coffee cart, so you can go get those fancy coffees as well. They also have food that's being catered by Elephant's Deli, so both coffee and food. Well done. Excellent.
Coffee, food, and cars. I could just probably live there. That's how it would work for me. Premium area. You have a premium area. You put special cars in. The first week you did what?
Correct. We have an area at the front of the museum we're calling featured. There's about 22 spaces. And what we do is we will feature a theme for about half the weekends. And in those featured spaces, cars that fit that theme will work. The very first weekend, as I said, was called Eye Candy. This weekend, the theme was military service. And any vehicle that was driven by anyone who was active, reserve, retired, or veteran military, their vehicles were allowed to park in the front. That was it. We also gave them a free ticket to the Rose Cup races at PIR as well.
That's awesome. And we like to thank them for their service anytime we get that opportunity. We've talked about, the ideas of people bringing their cars down there. Is there some way that we can see some of the cars there? Is there a hashtag we can follow on social media, or is there a web page we can go to? How do we follow what's going on at Cars and Coffee if we can't physically be there?
The best place to go to get most live updates would be portlandcarsandcoffee.com. That's our website for the event. We also have a Facebook group, PDX CNC, C&C, PDX CNC. That's the Facebook group.
What are you going to do when it gets to 500 cars?
The parking lot will always be limited to 300 cars because there are gates, and that is it. If any additional cars after that, parking on the street is free, and around there, lots of street parking.
All right. Now, you also have a pretty good police presence, because at other Cars and Coffee, outside of this one, they've had few issues where some people think it's just a racetrack, but you've had the Wilsonville police involved. Have they been good? Have they been keeping a handle on things?
They've been tremendous. And just to put this into perspective, we spent 4 months planning this new location and 2 months in a hiatus to wait for this to happen. This included reaching out to the Wilsonville police, which is also Clackamas County Sheriff. Southwest 95th that runs along the front is a very well-known speed trap. So if you just drive by there any other day, you have to mind your speed, especially on Saturday mornings. You want to make sure you're watching your speed. If you do a burnout or engine revving or any other display of speed, you may be having a conversation with law enforcement with or without paperwork.
Excellent, because it's not a racetrack. We know it.
No, it's
we
not.
Come to
Absolutely
look at the cars too.
We should point out that this is an act of love for Mark and our buddy Joel on this, because this is all volunteer.
Yes, Joel Feder and I are the 2 lead coordinators on this. We have been. Joel's been with me for 3 years on this. I've been on it for 8 years. And we just do this, frankly, because we love the cars, love the conversation. Caffeine helps as well.
Excellent. So Cars and Coffee next week, what's the theme?
We haven't decided yet. We'll announce it. We will announce it on the website if we decide to have a theme. Our other option with a theme is it may be entirely spontaneous, and you just see it on a dry erase board as you pull into the parking lot. So therefore, you should always show up with a clean car and the hopes that you may, in fact, make it in the featured if you meet the theme.
Like it. I like it. Mark, thanks so much. Coming up on Test Miles next week, we're going to have our favorite racers are going to be in here. Kyle Keenan and Cindy Lux are going to be back in the in the building. We're going to talk to them about some projects we have coming up with some really fun stuff. We have Test Miles all week long at testmiles.com, on Facebook, on Twitter, and we'd love to hear your feedback. I'm Nick Miles, and thank you for listening.